people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. Now, this is what we are faced with, and this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
Action.
May I ask you a very personal question? Do you consider yourself a free person? Like, what does freedom look like to you? And if you do say that you're a free person, please explain to me. What makes you free? Do you own your house? Do you own your cars? Do you have bodily autonomy? Can you do whatever you want, say whatever you want, whenever you want? How do you describe freedom? Like, I thought the American dream was that every American family was to have like 2 kids, a house, a car, transportation, take vacations, be able to go see Niagara Falls or the Grand Canyon, maybe the Redwood Forest. These were my ideas of freedom, stability, and building a family so that we can have a strong nation, so we go forward and our children stand on their shoulders and make this place called America the most greatest nation that's ever existed in the history of the world. Historically, I've always looked at this flag as a symbol of the will to fight for freedom. I look at these people who said that the king was too powerful, the taxes were too high, and I don't want an entity ruling over me and telling me what I can think and what I can say. And then we fast forward. I'm just old enough to see some pretty crazy things in my life. I think one of the craziest things I saw is when the American government took away homes of American citizens. Barack Obama took away your homes, evicted you, and paid the biggest banks in the world hundreds of billions of dollars. And I can never get the mathematics right, because they said that there was a whole bunch of faulty loans. They said, you bad borrowers, you shouldn't have got this house when you couldn't pay for this house. But in order to get a home, you got to go through a whole application process. The bank has to approve you, and the bank has to get the funds. And the bank, all these banks, they knew on the back end that these people were going to lose their houses, but they were okay with that. Because in the bank's rationale, if one person loses their house, I'll just flip it, make a profit, and sell it to another person. Like that's the business model in America. We treat shelter, which is a basic necessity. Every person in the world needs shelter. And so in the richest nation in the world, I just think it's reasonable that the people should own their shelter so they can start lineage and have a family. I have a baby and I have property, so I give my son my house, and then he gives my house to my grandson, and so on and so forth. This is how families build wealth in America. Then we got to the 2008 crash. I saw Barack Obama come in, and he had the ability to save you. He could have saved the American person while simultaneously saving America. But what was his decision? His decision was not to fight for you. His decision was to uphold the status quo. And right now, like we've fallen in love with politicians. We don't love politics, and the politics is battling for power, negotiating for resources. But hell no. Like, in order to battle for power, in order to fight, you got to get beat up sometimes. Sometimes you will lose. In order to fight, you got to have the heart to fight. You got to look at this system and say, I don't own nothing in this system, and get worked up and get excited because, man, I thought that American citizens were the most free and powerful citizens in the history of the world. And come to find out that historically, even right now, the majority of American citizens are cowards. Hell yeah. Every person, they go through a time when they don't know how big the moment is, what I'm required to do. And I think a whole lot of citizens right now, I think you right now, you're watching this video, like, what is this man talking about? I'm talking about freedom and power. I'm talking about the American worker. I'm talking about you. I'm talking about you. I'm asking you, what do you own? How are you free? What makes you free? Like right now, YouTube is one of the most powerful platforms in the world, and I can't even talk to you openly because they're controlled by advertisers. I'm controlled by advertisers. Advertisers control what I'm going to say. And so essentially, I'm not a free person. I am just a puppet, a talking mouthpiece for those who are going to pay me some AdSense. Yeah. When I make these videos, YouTube is going to run an ad on this video, and from that ad, I'm gonna get some pennies. They're gonna give me some pennies. It's not fair negotiation, but I think the power to communicate is man. I'm gonna take my wins where I can, and right now, the ability to communicate with you one-on-one, I think that's the most powerful thing, because I want to know, hey, how can you change the material condition of your life? How do we get you a house as fast as possible? When I say how do I get you a house as fast as possible, all the banks had to say was, if y'all don't give us this money, America's gonna shut down. And so they use strong arm tactics against the American government. Banks use strong arm tactics, JP Morgan Chase, all these big banks, Bank of America, They use strong arm tactics to take your home away from you and tell you there ain't nothing you can do about it, because if you don't give us these hundreds of billions of dollars, watch and see what we're gonna do. Now. If that's the power of corporations, and corporations are just a small percentage of the American population, what power do 300 million people have? Just imagine that. What power do 300 million people have? If those companies can tell America, if you don't give us hundreds of billions of dollars, then we're going to shut down America, do the American people have that exact same power? I saw COVID. I watched COVID happen. And when COVID happened, the United States government, they said, hey, all you American citizens, you can't go to work unless you work at Walmart, McDonald's, or Walgreens or something like this. But if it was a mom and pop, you couldn't go to work. And when I'm saying this, I want you to just really look at your life, analyze your life, and evaluate. Are you a free person? And if you are a free person, what makes you a free person? What idea do you have in your mind that makes you a free person? Are there groups in America that you can't speak against? Are there belief systems in America that you cannot have? And if there's a belief system that you cannot have, right, like religious freedom, bodily autonomy, like I'm supposed to be able to believe in good things, but right now I can't even believe in good things because it infringes on someone else's idea of what they think freedom is, right? Some people think that freedom is death. Absolutely, positively. When Kamala Harris, when she lost the election, very specifically, I was very happy because I thought at that moment that we saved 1 million babies in America. On average, we terminate about 1 million babies every single year, and that's been held up as some type of noble action. We've made women feel like not having babies was powerful. Oh, that baby's going to interfere with your career. That baby's going to interfere with your traveling. Oh, that baby. If you have that baby, then all of a sudden you gotta listen to a man because family is bad, patriarchy is bad, having babies is bad. And so when this ideology was defeated, I was happy. But I'm not happy about a president. There's no such thing as a good president. That's an oxymoron. All presidents are powerful people who are fighting for more power. They're not fighting on behalf of you, the American people. And I voted for Donald Trump, but Donald Trump isn't my friend. He's not my best friend. He's the president. He's supposed to represent my interest, and I'm supposed to propose whatever's in my best interest. I'm supposed to submit it to him and say, I need this done, Donald Trump. I need the American people to have houses, right? I want to make right the things that were made wrong. In 2008, millions of people lost their homes. About like 2 million homes were taken away by the government. I think the government should make that right. If the government has the power to give corporations hundreds of billions of dollars, if the government has the power to give other nations hundreds of billions of dollars, and you don't even have a place to stay, I think that's a problem. I think that doesn't make you a free person. I think the idea in America should be that the government, if it's going to do any good, should act as a liaison to turn the American people into free people. Right? I think that's the only thing the American government is supposed to do, is to turn American people into free people. Help me negotiate with big business, because big business is so powerful. Chase Bank, Bank of America, Google, Amazon, Facebook, Meta, all these companies are huge. And when they talk, the government listens. And I want to know, when you talk, does the government listen? You're the citizen. You're the free person. Somewhere, somehow, they made the corporation a person, but they did all this because of money. And I think that you're worth more than some money. Hell yeah. The government, you just look at it. I used the housing market in 2008. We can go back to COVID in 2020. And anytime they want to spend some money, they're going to spend trillions of dollars. And when they spend these trillions of dollars, they will spend money on you as long as you don't own anything. That's an interesting thing. I go back to the 17 and 1800s where slave owners would go to the auction block and they'll see this big buck and they'll pay $300 for this big buck. It's rather expensive. They'll pay for his food, pay for his clothing, pay for whatever medical care that he needs. But that individual will never be a free person. Power doesn't mind spending money as long as they can control you. The government doesn't mind spending money as long as when they spend the money, you obey. You obey. You'll never be a free person. American citizens are cattle that are grazing on American land. In America, this multi-trillion-dollar corporation not only owns the land, they also own you. And when you say no, they'll take away your freedom. They'll take away your house. Don't pay your taxes. We'll take it. You don't want to pay your child support? We'll incarcerate you. If you don't do what we tell you to do in America, then you'll lose your freedom. You'll lose all your material possessions. And so I started off with one basic question. Are you a free person? And if you are a free person, then what makes you free? Huh? Do you even own yourself in America? Do Americans own themselves? Or am I a slave to my job, to corporations? Am I a slave to Google? Am I a slave to ChatGPT? Am I a slave to the United States government? Huh? Am I a slave to Russia? Am I a slave to big world geographic forces, economic forces that tell me that they're more important than the American citizen? And I'm telling you, there's nothing more important, there's nothing more powerful than the American citizen. And what's so wild is you don't even know it. And if you do know it, you ain't gonna do nothing about it. You're supposed to have the history come from the lineage of freedom fighters to fight for freedom, to stand up for material possessions, not only for you, for your grandchildren and great-grandchildren in the future going forward. And instead of having conversation about owning homes and getting better wages and having transportation that goes from sea to shining sea, we're terminating 1 million babies every year. Hell yeah. We're Democrat, Republican. I am a human being. And every human person requires food, shelter, and clothing. Hell yeah. And these are like basic human rights. And so everything that we should do should be a negotiation to obtain these things. Nothing else. All social issues, what I do with my body, how I have children, all these things. The state has nothing to do with that. The state has nothing to do with that. Create a national labor contract that tells every American citizen to get 2 weeks of paid vacation, 1 week of sick leave, and we have the ability to negotiate with our owners. Yeah, the people we go to work for. That's power. Hey, Donald Trump, do that, huh? Create a national labor contract that gives every American citizen 2 weeks paid vacation, 1 week of sick leave, and make sure that we have a pathway to ownership. Not no goddamn Roth IRA, not no damn money market account, not the NASDAQ, not the New York Stock Exchange. No, an actual asset that I can give to my children. But that's a negotiation. That's a conversation. And I don't think anybody's having this conversation. Why? Because you're okay with being a slave. The idea of freedom is better than actually fighting for freedom. Because when you fight for freedom, you might lose. And I'm willing to lose so that my children know that their daddy was a fighter.
The greatest American alive.